Mugen. Hello. Hello, 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 hello. I'm coming. Up, 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 up. Okay. Okay, okay, okay. Okay, okay. Um. Up. Hello, hello, that. Bless Grok. Because he's making. He's adding the poggies to the world. Aye, aye, aye. Hello. Hello, 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 hello. How about you? How are you, Nat? How about you, Nat? How about you today? Good, yeah, I'm good. I'm good, I'm good. Alors, let's. I rushed to finish the tech news the tech news thing. I think it's okay. I think it's okay. I think it's okay. Bon, we're going to see. Ah, mais... Wait a minute. Just noticing something in my... Okay. Bon, there's a lot today. Ah no, there's 15. 15 plus. Um, okay. Up. Up. Okay, let's go. Let's start. Alors, first story, Grok undresses people. What's going on over there? So I guess that's why I saw lots of people on X since like a week or something, making all the put like, but I saw it mostly as a joke where like all of the main tech Twitter guys, they were all being like people would add Grok and say put X in a bikini or whatever. But it turns out it's all even though there is a fun joke into it when you put Elon or Nikita B or like one of the executives of X in a bikini. Of course, when it's applied to women and children, it's not as funny anymore. So I guess that's what it's about. Yeah, and so bon. Also, I feel like people have, you know, emphasized the fact, like, bon, I don't think it's actually sexual images that are being generated, right? But it is like borderline images because when you put like a child or a woman in a bikini, of course, yeah, it's weird. It's uh, it can be classified as child forbidden stuff. Yeah, And so it seems a significant portion of this content is actually, yeah, associated with CSAM, child sexual abuse material. So that's pretty bad. Yeah. So I think Grok is under like X. So Musk is under fire from both the local governments and, of course, the US government and the EU government, and even I've heard the many women in bikinis. Stop it, stop it. And so there's also I've heard the Indonesian government who has blocked, I think, X or something. So yeah, it's not just an American thing; it's all over the world. Because yeah, I mean, and especially like in France, for example, I think it might also be noticed because a few weeks ago there was like a brand new, Chinese Chinese brand. How do you call that? It's a the music. There was a brand new Chinese brand who was actually selling like sex dolls or whatever online on like a public, but it was sex dolls of children, so it was, it basically the Minister of the Interior shut down the website and the brand and the shop that wanted to install itself into a new big Parisian building, So yeah, I think the EU and the French authority and most authorities will try to go against that for sure. They said that like Grok said that it has limited the feature, but it's actually just limited to the paid, which is a bit weird. The paid tier, on X, which is weird because, of course, if the guys who are doing this illegal stuff are just need to pay to continue doing it, well, they'll just continue doing it this way. Yeah. So yeah, sad. I hope they. Yeah, I mean, they will have to find a solution, right? But I guess that's the limit about Grok and Musk's approach when they want to add spicy mode or whatever in their chatbots or whatever. Well, yeah, unfortunately for him, X.com is not like limited to adults only. I think on X and on most of the West, the children need to be like above 13 years old. So, but they're still minors, right? So, like, what's going on here? That's a bit weird. So yeah, I guess X will have to clarify what it does, especially since like Musk doesn't want, like, has, I think, fired most of the moderation team, right, from former Twitter. Well, now they do need it back, so bon, they will have to find a solution, huh? Otherwise, the EU will ban them. Especially funnily because like literally the French government has dealt with this issue just like a few weeks ago with another Chinese brand, another international brand. So yeah, they're not going to let this pass. Okay, but in the meantime, it turns out that XAI, so Musk stuff, is also raising 20 billion. XAI has not disclosed this. Bon, more free more free models, I guess, right? Because Grok code right now is free. I guess it's going to continue being free. XAI is under investigation by international authorities. Yeah, yeah, because it's Grok AI that does the CSAM stuff, right? It's not Twitter. It's not X. Huh. Do the authorities differentiate between X and XAI? Because like I think most of the, or at least most of the images that I've seen have just been, you know, people tagging Grok on Twitter, on X. But I guess there's also might be a Grok only, like Grok UI part of this, which is, yeah, a bit disturbing, I guess. Hmm. Oh wait, so it's not just on X. It's on X and on Grok, the Grok AI. God damn. Oh yeah, so they just have a, yeah. I mean, bon, is it surprising given that Musk said that moderation, you know, was not a priority or whatever? He wants freedom of expression, you know. Well, yeah, maybe not about this, you know. Okay, next, Google TV. Ah oui, alors Google TV ads. I've seen this big Gemini updates add image and video generation to the Google TVs. So I've seen all these news about Google adding Gemini like everywhere, but I have not actually seen any signs of it on my own my Gmail. I mean, well, maybe I haven't tried to try it. If I click on the Gemini button, does it? Yeah, it says try at no cost. But then if I click on the Gemini inside Gmail, if I click on try at no cost, it brings me to the Google Workspace, to the paid Google Workspace that has 14 days free trial, which is not what I want, of course. I don't want to pay for Google Workspace to just use Gemini to my Gmail account, my free Gmail account. What the hell, Google? Well, and I haven't seen Gemini either on my smart speaker, and even less in my Google TV, whatever. Even though I guess I don't have a Google TV actually. This is like the proprietary LG stuff, WebOS. So maybe I won't see it anyway. But like, I'm wondering who these new features are pushed to, because like I don't see any of the integrated Gemini features in any of the Google products I'm using, even though I am a Google storage, at least, subscriber or whatever. I have the Google One subscription. Not seen any kind of integration to Gemini. So, and I've also seen people on Twitter complain about this, like that they receive like a news or whatever, Gemini is available, and then they check and it's not there. Like, what's going on, Google? Do you ship or not? Because Google is sure communicating about shipping Gemini everywhere, but it's not actually anywhere. The new Gemini features will debut on TCL TVs that run Google TV, but most other devices, even Google's own TV streamer, will have to wait a few months. Ah, ouais. How surprising. Even then, you won't see Gemini taking over every TV or streaming box with Google software. The new Gemini features require the full Google TV experience with Android OS version 14 or higher. I mean, I do have a slightly older Chromecast. I'm not sure of the Android version though. Bon, probably nothing. Yeah? Probably not going to see any Gemini signed anytime soon, I guess. Okay, next topic. Top programming languages of 2026 from Wisdom. I saw that. I was like, what is the. I guess I hoped that it was some kind of Stack Overflow, like, chart with actual numbers backing the chart, but I guess not. But we know that now JavaScript, TypeScript has even surpassed Python, I think, for in the last Stack Overflow 2026 survey, right? Now that Stack Overflow is dying. Hey, I should have added this topic. Actually. Stack Overflow dying. I haven't properly reviewed it. Digit. Let me add this real quick. Stack Overflow is dying. Ah, fuck. What is the current top programming languages? Up, up. Okay. Okay. Yeah, so that's just like a random article. Let's look at the actual Stack Overflow survey because of they do that when? At the end of the year, right? 2025. View survey results. Yeah, voila. When? When was that? A few days ago, a few weeks ago, right? Alors, I want to see. I think so. Like, this is the year of TypeScript, right? I think. Where is it? Bon, AI, okay. AI. Python adoption grew. After more than a decade of steady growth, Python's adoption has accelerated significantly. It saw a 7 percentage point increase from 2024 to 2025. This speaks to its ability to be the go-to language for AI, data science, and backend development. Yeah. SQL is going strong. I mean, at the same time, nobody can, manage a database with SQL. So yeah. TypeScript, JavaScript, and Python. Bash shell. Java. Java mentioned. Java has. So, which programming scripting have you done extensive development work in over the past year, and which do you want to work in over the next year? Petit pot. Ah ouais. Decimote is wonderful. That's the maybe it embodies the Java experience. No. Databases. SQLite mentioned. SQL Postgres. People still love full-fledged databases. Huh? Me when Java blah blah. RBF. Cloud development. Docker, NPM. Web framework, Node, React. FastAPI. Yeah. So now FastAPI, yeah, is in front of Flask and Django. Yeah, so FastAPI is the new Python backend. Svelte mentioned. jQuery. Wow. How is jQuery that strong still? Which do you want to... I don't understand. What is this? How is this question translating into a percentage? Like, what? Which framework have you done extensive work in over the past year? And which do you want to work in over the next year? If you both worked with the framework and want to continue to do so, please check both. How does that out? How does the output is a percentage? It's the percentage of people ticking the box, I guess. Whatever. Yeah. So conclusion: Python and JavaScript, but JavaScript still grew more this year compared to the last year. So JavaScript is becoming even more dominant. That's funny. Bon, Python is not that far behind. I mean, JavaScript, HTML, CSS, yeah, like web technologies, right? C# is a bit higher for the professional developers. However, for between all and professional developers, it's the same. Learning to code Python, yeah, JavaScript, and C. Look at my Arch users here. Learning C. No, no, it's not my Arch users. It's just university people, basically, students who learn C as a first language to know the basics, you know. Learners that use AI, Python, HTML, write-ins, Haskell, Clojure. There are so little people who use Objective-C. Clojure, Haskell. How many people use like Julia and Clojure? I thought it was higher than that. I thought there was like an actual industry around this, around Clojure, Julia, Haskell. I'm not sure, but I guess no. It's crazy. Interesting. Okay, next topic. All the technology I start using lose their popularity within 2 months. Really? Laravel 8.9%. Hello, Gokal. Really? What technology did you lost their popularity for you, Nat? Because Java is still going strong, right? Look at this. Java is just after the web technologies. Literally Java, once you have taken out all the typical web tech and Python, which is general programming, but once you have, like, it's literally the third language. There's like JavaScript and web stuff, Python, and then Java. It's funny. It's not losing. It's actually still a pretty out there. Java, when I started, was the most popular, then PHP, then Laravel. Yes. Yeah, I mean, yeah, compared to, before, of course. Yeah, Java, yeah. Yeah, I think like, like a decade or two ago, Java was like the Python, right, of the day. But yeah, now it's a bit more, it's more of a legacy language, I guess. Even though with Kotlin, you could argue it's actually now a pretty modern standard, especially since Kotlin is compatible with Java. At work, I code most in Java, and it's Java 1.8. Yeah. Yeah, right? Like everything is coded in Java in a lot of big corporations. So yeah, in my team, I was like, in my time, it was like learn Java because no one wants to learn this shit. Then I learned, and now everybody knows. Or no one wants to do to become an employee for Java. As everybody knows Java, but nobody wants to apply. Well, look, it means that there's an opportunity, to apply to Java developer postings, except if you too do, maybe not, you don't want to become a Java developer too. So then that's the problem. Java runs everywhere. It's good. Yeah, true. I mean, when you have these languages, they have become very dominant for a reason, right? So yeah, not surprising. Now I have another article for on this topic. Uh, bon, I need to refine my prompt for the tech news because I it always finds these weird ass like corporate blog posts that like you know are probably AI generated themselves. Like what the fuck? So who the fuck is what the fuck is Artesio? I have no idea what this is. Bon, whatever. Next topic. Stack Overflow is dying. People want to apply, but bosses don't want to hire Java developers anymore. Oh, really? Really? Not even for like maintenance sake? Because there's lots of like, system like corporate systems that depend on Java. So you do need the Java developers to maintain the thing, no? Go I can wait for you for $1,000 per month. I'm very cheap, and I can speak Portuguese from Portugal and Portuguese from Brazil. That's true. I'm not hiring. LBF, LBF. Where do you live, Net? Even the core of Netflix is Java. Yeah, right? Everything is Java. Big corporates use Java. Yeah, exactly. I'm a French Brazilian guy. Yes. Nat is totally French, okay? He knows how to say ça va, so he's French. That's how French people say. They say ça va, ça va, ça va. You live in France? No. I live in Brazil. Stack Overflow is dying. Blaming on ChatGPT and AI coding tools, Stack Overflow traffic collapse explained as developers shift to ChatGPT. I mean, yeah. Well, I guess it's pretty obvious, right? But I just wanted to see if there was more context about this. Even though we already talked about this last stream, actually. Yeah, why is it so loud? Of course, this is Instagram, so you cannot control the fucking volume and you cannot control the fucking timeline. Oh, Instagram is such a bad video platform, you know? Instagram, worst video platform ever made. Let's put Instagram into somewhere and let's just lit it on fire because this platform deserves to die. How do you not have a control volume and a even TikTok you can control things? Stupid. I'm not listening to your video, Instagram. Fuck you. The Museum of Code. The danger now isn't just for the website, but for the future of coding knowledge. Stack Overflow wasn't just a help desk, it was a living archive of new problems. This is true. This is true and a bit problematic if we can't have this for the future, yeah. Yeah, it's true. Because in a way, I think most of the time when I have a real problem in my code, I do ask like the LLM model to go online, and I guess a lot of times it finds some Stack Overflow threads with the problem I'm having or something related, and it can find a good solution with this. But if we don't have this resource in the future, then the problem solving will be a bit harder now, because now it means that the AI needs to rely only on its own thinking process, which is, I guess, mostly efficient for already well-known problems, right? Or related problems. For brand new problems, is it that smart? Or maybe the thinking models are just good enough now that we don't need that anymore. We don't need the archive of problems and their solutions to actually solve the thing. Maybe now AI is smart enough. I don't know. I mean, to be fair, in the last few months, I have not found the SOTA models to be as dumb as they were before, like, 6 months, a year ago. I regularly encountered like problems and bug solving where I was like, God damn it, this fucking state of the art LLM model sucks ass, is dumb as shit. Nowadays, less so. So maybe bon, let's hope that we don't need the Stack Overflow anymore for the LLMs to solve our problems, I guess. What have you been saying? Come to a lot of versions here. I would love, but I'm poor. Maybe something I need to work about where you could use my audio control extension. Ah, yes. Where is it? Can I install it on Chrome, Nat? The audio control extension? Actually, I need to update because I interrupted the upgrade for audio, but now they're removed again. Ah, but in my expansion, you can control the audio and the volume. Ah, nice. Well, give me the link. Click here to the open job in Portuguese cities. Oh, nice. I will see. Nat, post the link to the Instagram Chrome extension. We are left with the paradox. AI has democratized coding assistance by killing the very source of its intelligence, right? This is kind of true. Stack Overflow is unlikely to disappear completely, but its role has fundamentally shifted. It is no longer the town square of development. It is becoming a museum, a static library of the pre-AI web. Yeah, visited only by the machines that replaced it. Damn, that's true. Let's hope that the existing code base of Stack Overflow can stay there and can at least, allow the AIs to kickstart and go beyond, right? And to deploy its wings to fly independently. Let's hope we can do that. Otherwise, we're fucked. Very nice, your Twitch. A GUI petit. Ah, thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. I coded this with the latest LLMs. And it worked very nice. So, I'm satisfied with the current generation. Like when it really felt like when Opus 4.5 and Gemini 3 Pro came out. But I haven't tested Gemini GPT 5.2, which seems it's good. It's also better. But especially, yeah, like Opus 4.5 and Gemini 3 Pro really felt like, okay, now they're good. Now they're not as dumb as before, or at least way less. Maybe they're still dumb in some ways, but they're smart enough that actually it feels smooth, in the way the bug solving and the feature creation, implementation of the plans and stuff. It actually feels like it knows what it's doing. For once, finally, Alors Google, alors same as before, right? Google adds new AI features to Gmail, turning it into a personal assistant. On my side, on France, I guess in Europe, I don't have access to Gemini in my Gmail still. What happens is that if I go on Gmail and I click on the Gemini button, it brings me to a Google Workspace upgrade that is paid. So it's not actually a real integration into Google's free ecosystem, which sucks ass, right? Because like, come on, ChatGPT is free. The Gemini chats are free, but for some reason they can't be free inside the Gmail. Come on, this is ridiculous. Like, if it's free, make it free. Free with rate limits and limitations or whatever. But it's just that now if I want to use Gemini inside my Gmail, I just need to go to the actual Gemini.com, whatever, and use it there for free, and then copy paste. Come on. Google always has had a problem with this, with like actually integrating features that make sense or something, especially with the Gemini stuff. Like, dude, can you please be smart about it? It seems very hard for Google to be smart about how to integrate actually wanted features into its own flagship products. Like, why is it such a problem? Why is it so long? You know, I would like to discuss with the Gemini voice mode in my smart speaker. I can't, even though it's literally just an API away from me being able to do that, right? But Google bureaucratic hell, you know, it's like, oh, it's unreal. Next topic. Ubisoft closes Halifax Studio. Ah ouais, alors, Ubisoft. Just 1 minute, I had the function done. I just need to put the function inside the mute button. Okay. The arrow moving on topic is stop and the subtle gradients top notch. Ah, thank you. Thank you very much, Mukal. Maybe you can sell this GUI. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe. You know, like, I think we are at the moment where I'm not sure anymore what is the bar above or below which an app becomes sellable, especially like a simple app like that without users. I mean, because now with AI, you know, like anyone asking Opus 4.5 to reproduce that can do that very easily nowadays. Like I did, right? That's what I did. I mean, very easily, or at least, you know, like an afternoon or two worth of tinkering, and you can get that too, you know. And so, you know, and it's funny because the other day there was this guy that came into the chat that is a viewer, I think, but he also is also making stuff on the side, and he presented me this script to process to create clips out of VODs, Twitch VODs, you know, stream VODs. And it turns out I'm also working on the same thing on my own repo with Cloud Opus because it's very easy, you know, and it would be useful to me. And so there was a side of me that was like, well, yeah, I could use his thing. But, you know, on his pricing page, he says like, ooh, alpha stage for free for now. It's free for now, you know. So of course, later down the road, he will try to monetize it, and so it will become paid. And I don't know the price, right? That he will. I'm not sure, you know, since I don't have much money. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to pay for that. And so I'm like, well, yeah, I could just use his stuff and then feel the burn when he increases the price or when he just makes it paid. Or I could just continue working on my own little repo, probably made by the same, you know, by Claude Opus, like he's doing probably to build his stuff, and I could do my stuff for free for me, for free forever, you know. And you know, like, and I've been thinking about this, and I've been thinking like, yeah, like, are we entering a world where actually if your app is too simple, it's not worth buying or selling, or because like anybody can do it, you know. I'm not sure. Well, bon, there is also this very specific aspect where the guy was trying to sell it, and like even the landing page of his product was about selling it to coder streamers, you know. So it's kind of a bit redundant, right? Like you are selling to coders a tool that they can actually build themselves easily because they know all the LLM coding agents or whatever. So, you know, it's I'm not sure if it's a good business model. Or it's just that maybe the app needs to be, or at least the app needs to be complex enough that it would be very, 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 very long to do that yourself, even with Cloud Opus or something. But that means the app needs to be gigantic, yeah, right? Because like you can literally make Cloud Opus run for a while, for a day or two, and yeah, it would cost you $20. But you know, maybe using $20 worth of Cloud Opus to make a little app that is slightly complicated, you know, it's obviously more worth it than paying $20 every month for a guy that just did the same as who did that himself and is now selling it to you. You know, this is HTML and JavaScript. Yes, this is HTML and JavaScript. Yeah. For me, this GUI is sellable. The chat integration topics, it's nice for streamers. Yeah, I mean, so you know, I think these kinds of apps or you know overlays or whatever. I guess it would make sense to maybe being able to sell that to non-coders, of course, you know, because I guess the non-coders have less familiarity with the kinds of you know powerful coding agents that allow you to do this. I guess, right? So like video game streamers or whatever. Hello, hello, Anton, Devonton. Hey, hello. How are you? I'm talking about. Bon, I need to talk about Ubisoft, but I also talked about how, yeah, are we getting into a world like I'm just wondering what is the complexity that because since the LLM coding agents are becoming so good, I think the bar for like something being sellable will probably get higher than it was before, right? I guess. Same for the open source tooling, you know, like the open source tooling was usually little libraries or. I'm not sure. I need to think about it. For me, paying $10 for this GUI is okay. Yeah, I mean, I think that's also what I could do. That would be. I think when I saw because you know I actually went to some of the overlay for OBS websites when you can buy, and yeah, I think it would be worth. I think it would be even worth a bit more, but yeah, 20. Yeah, I mean you know, $10 is reasonable, I guess. Yeah. Especially since most of the overlays that are sold for like more than $10 are very simple and they don't do that. You know, they only just display like subs, followers, you know. So this is a bit more interactive, right? And I also have like a separate I also have like a separate a panel, you know, like I can show you here. Local hosts. This so this is like my dashboard, you know, where I control. So I launch the agent here, just the search agent with my prompt, and I get some news, and I can delete, you know, rearrange, whatever, add my own stuff. I apply, and then you know, then I click that, and it switches like this, you know. That's how I do. And there's the tech news mode and the chill coding mode, you know. Up. I don't know. This is pretty simple, but yeah, that's what I do. Let me go back to Ubisoft real quick because Ubisoft is the big following since 15 May 2024 is insane. Shows how I barely use Twitch nowadays. Oh, really? You've been following since all this time? Ah, yes, that's true. Wow, attends, 2024. Ah ouais, so yes, it was when I just started. when so because I think I started streaming in April or maybe May, I don't remember. April or May 2024, 1 year and a half ago. Yeah. So you were one of my first followers, Deventon. That's funny. Yeah. Back then, there was no tech news. There was just me randomly coding stuff. Now I'm trying to. I have took the decision to structure my stream. And now, as you see, my stream is very structured. That's why I do these very long side talks like this. But theoretically speaking, I should only be talking about the tech news on the first part of the stream, and then I will do the chill coding part in the second part of the stream. You know, Ubisoft has closed its Halifax studio. Ubisoft is a French company, and to us, and I think to most people in the world, it's like a big zombie, company. They were good because they made Assassin's Creed, but they're not good anymore because they're a bit too bloated. They don't know how to make good video games anymore. There's a lot of corporate, bureaucracy in there, and they're not they don't it's like they don't have the vigor to make good games anymore, contrary to Clair Obscur, for example, Central Interactive, who was a small new studio that made a bold game and a passionate game. Ubisoft has lost that. Ubisoft nowadays is mostly about making money, for shareholders, and they don't, like, at least the managers don't seem to actually care about the games they're making, and that's why everybody hates Ubisoft games nowadays. Even though 15 years ago they were great, but not anymore. Bon, and basically in France, every year or two, people are hearing rumors from Ubisoft employees about the soon-to-be bankruptcy of Ubisoft because they employ so many people. They have like thousands of employees like all around the world. And their games are mid and nobody buys them anymore, so everybody's saying like, yeah, maybe Ubisoft is going to go bankrupt in 6 months or so. But every time they're like, whoop, last resort, whoop, okay, the last Assassin's Creed sold, okay, so whoop, okay, they're not dead, but let's see about next year. And also, yeah, they also sold themselves to Tencent because they were in a financial disarray. Ubisoft claims it's shifting toward a less centralized operating model, in an attempt to give creative team more ownership of the brands they work on. Yeah. I mean, if there's one thing that I think rocked the boat of Ubisoft even more than just, the financial problems that they have, it's probably the fact that Clair Obscur won the GOTY, right? Yes, Clair Obscur is literally like the studio that made Clair Obscur is literally the prime example of what Ubisoft is not, right? And that's the prime example of what Ubisoft is not doing, right? Like Central Interactive, who made Clair Obscur, is a small studio, 30-something people, very small, very new. It's their first game. Only juniors in the team, it was their first game. And here is a video game where, they were all very motivated to do it. They were all very passionate about how they did it. They made bold, they made very bold choices inside for the gameplay, for the story, for everything. And people noticed that, and it was original. It was an original game, right? And that's precisely what Ubisoft is not doing anymore. Ubisoft is not bold, does not take risks with their gameplay and their stories in the games that they release. It's always this like industrial kind of games that people are just hating, because they've had too much of it. But of course, since the Ubisoft is a big fucking bureaucracy, they can't steer away from the the recipe, because if they steer away from the recipe, ooh, it's risky, so maybe we won't get as much money of last time. Well, no, it's because you keep you keep doing the same recipe that you're losing less. You are making less money, yeah. But they're too dumb and too, yeah. I think Ubisoft is just a prime example of how a great company can turn into a bureaucratic behemoth, and how bureaucratic rot can actually slowly kill a company, Very, very interesting. Well, they are closing. Yeah. It's probably not the last studio they're closing, I guess. Next topic. Meta signs deal with three nuclear companies. Alors, we've heard last year, I think, that Microsoft was like also buying a nuclear power plant or whatever. Attends, why is the music so loud? Okay. So last year, Microsoft said they were going to reactivate a desactivated power plant or something, a nuclear power plant. Now Meta is also signing a deal. I think it's because all of their new data centers, their new AI data centers, are just too power hungry to be powered by the existing electric grid. That's crazy. Nuclear power has become a favorite power source for tech companies as their AI ambition have grown, providing stable 24/7 electricity. Startups and existing reactors are benefiting from the race for data center power, though in different ways. Existing reactors tend to be the cheapest form of baseload capacity, but there are only so many to go around, which has pushed Meta and its peers toward SMR startups. Small modular reactor, right? I guess SMR. Ah oui, small modular reactor. Companies developing small modular reactors. Yeah, it's a new trend in nuclear electricity. We've also trying to do that in France. Companies like Oklo and TerraPower are betting that building a large number of smaller reactors, they'll be able to bring the cost down through mass manufacturing. It's a plausible hypothesis, though one that has yet to be tested. Meta's deal could give SMR startups a chance to prove it. The deals are the result of a request for proposals that Meta issued in December 2024. In which Meta thought partner that could add 1 to 4 gigawatts of generating capacity by the early 2030s. I mean, it's funny that those big tech companies start to have more and more infrastructure in their hands, huh? First, okay. Oh, sorry, Dev. I didn't see your message. Nice, very nice. Just came to say hi and check the stream out again. I have to go again sadly. Okay, yeah, don't worry. He probably went away already. So see you, Dev. Anton. I need to read my chat more. Yeah, like these big tech companies start to have lots and lots of infrastructure. A lot of them already have plenty of trans ocean internet cables, right? Like Google, Facebook, and now Meta. They have already deployed their own, oceanic cables to transfer data through the oceans and stuff like that. Now they're getting their own nuclear power plants. I mean, what's next? Like at some point, they will have all of the attributes of a small state, just without the army. And then maybe at some point they will start to hire, internal guards or whatever. internal security, you know, that just happen to have AK-47 snipers and um, special ops people, and then maybe when Donald Trump will put the final nail on the on the U.S. Federal state or whatever, they will, you know, that's my libertarian, you know, brain that is trying to think about this. Of course, not likely, but it's an interesting trend, you know, that they start to actually put their hands on very, very, very traditionally state owned or state managed stuff like nuclear energy. Interesting trend. Whatever. Let's continue. Here, Petit. Ah, voilà. Extra extension. You have to install for your own. I don't have the money to deploy a Google extension. Yeah, don't worry. Okay, let me see. Ah, yeah, I need to build it myself. Okay. Let me start it, okay? Look, this is you. Hey, nice. Okay, but I will install it later, you know? Yeah, cool. Cool, Nat. Thank you. No, Grok hasn't paid. What's the fake feature? Ah, wait, we're back to this. Ah, we know it's a paid. I forgot about this. It's a paid article. I can't read it. Okay. The first. Oh, I've always wondering what the hell is going on with Lego. I've been seeing this news for like the last few days or weeks or whatever, and I have not wanted to look into it because it doesn't seem interesting. Why do I care that Lego has a new break or something? But it's coming back everywhere I go, so let's actually look into it. For god damn it. Why is Lego break relevant? Lego is launching its new smart play system with 3 Star Wars sets that will be released on March 1st. How, like, it looks like an ad, right? Why is it interesting? Maybe we have some bugs. Yeah, it's okay. And when you see some stories, the comment section stay in front of the timeline. I didn't test the volume on stories actually. Okay. Well, I don't watch stories. I don't actually use Instagram. So the only ways I use Instagram is in the browser, and it's when usually I am searching for something on the internet, and one of the video that matches my search is on Instagram, so I go on Instagram there and I watch the video. So I don't actually, interact very much with Instagram. Yeah. So don't worry. Alors, what the hell is this Lego Smart Brick? It recognizes as the best in show. Really? The best CES product is the Lego Smart Brick? The Smart Brick functions as a tiny standalone computer that can be integrated into Lego builds to add interactive lighting and sounds. But this is just an ad article, right? Like, how is this not an ad? If you buy something from a Verge link, Vox Media may earn a commission. This is an ad article, right? You know, this is kind of articles that you can buy to help Verge make money, right? And to help you have ads. The most expensive option, yeah, this is just an ad. Why do I care about LED lighting sounds in a Lego? What? They're not programmable, but Lego says the smart brick can be updated with new features. The reaction to the smart play system from Lego has been divided, so I'm excited. The new play opportunity, while other elements Lego moving away from imagination-based play, despite not being Lego's first set to implement electronics. The Verge. He walked away from developing the smart bricks for Far smarter, more imaginative than expected. Yeah, this is a paid story, right? This is a paid story. Yeah. Okay, let's go. Why is that? Is there 2 times the same? Bon, whatever. Verge is a lot of ads article. Oh, really? I didn't know. That's funny, especially since most of their articles are paid, but they still do lots of paid ads in addition to the. Well, okay. I guess most journals do that nowadays, right? But the fact that there's no indication that this is an ad or this is a sponsored article is kind of fucked up. Huh? Alors, DeepSeek. Ah, yeah, so DeepSeek has announced a new. Soon, they will soon launch. They will soon launch. They will soon launch a new AI model focused on the coding. On coding, so I guess like Opus, like Codex, right? Like the GPT 5.2 Codex model. That can be cool. Because I think DeepSeek 3.2, right, was just a generalist model, like GPT-5. It can code, but it's not specialized. But the next one, V4, is featuring strong coding capabilities. Information reported, citing people familiar with the matter. Internal tests by DeepSeek employees suggest V4 could outperform rivals such as Anthropic's Claude. Really? Really? And OpenAI GPT series. And the crazy thing is that it will probably be open source, open weight at least, if they continue doing as they did before. But to be fair, like for some reason, the Chinese AI labs seem very committed to putting all of their models in the open. I'm not sure if it's really like something else than just a reputation thing. Maybe they want to appear nice to the Western audience, or something, or maybe to their own audience too. Maybe it's to show how communistic they are. You know, it's a flex. The latest V4 model has also made breakthroughs in handling and processing extremely long coding prompts, a potential advantage for developers working on complex software projects. Information added. I mean, yeah, I think the next, like, now that Opus and Gemini 3 Pro have actually fixed and like established, I think, a strong code correctness baseline in their short term like prompts, like I guess the next frontier for the coding models is just like how long can they code while still having the correct context into like the correct info into their context window, and how well they can actually like remember the different steps and what they did. Because like one of the problems that I had with lots of those models over the last year is that often they forget what they did before, and so when you ask them, or they forget what the specificities of the config that they have themselves written, or that is in a file that they just forget to retrieve or something. And so you ask them for making a small change that is linked to to like a config file or something, or that is at least influenced by the way a config file is written, and they change it as if this config file does not exist. So what happens is that they add some redundant code that is redundant to the config file, or redundant with something else that's present in the code base. And that's very annoying, right? Because humans don't do that. because the humans have this long-term kind of memory, traces that the LLMs don't have today. And so I guess this is a frontier, right? Like, how do you have a model that has a sufficiently big memory window and like memory traces in its, I don't know, in its brain, in its context? I mean, they basically need to reproduce what happens in our brain, right? Like in our brain, in our human brain, we have, short-term memory, long-term memory, and some things are something we forget and something we remember and something we remember consciously, but some things we remember only when we are, like presented with something. We're like, oh yeah, oh, I remember now, but it's not, if we haven't had this thing presented to us, maybe we wouldn't have remember consciously, So I guess they need to do something similar for these agentic coding models. Like they need to have a way to, in their memory, link a given line of code or a given file with several other files, that are just linked with them. Because sometimes it's not just about the imports. The imports, okay, they do, they link, but sometimes like the way you do stuff is just has to do with like some config file that is not imported, but that still influence these files, this code snippet, something. I'm wondering is over the long term, because first they will try to extend the coding session or the coding prompts and the memory associated. But maybe ideally speaking, in whatever projects you have, the ideal coding memory session is actually one that is the same over the entire lifetime of a project. Instead of just having the context of the code base inside one conversation, you would have the context of the code base but refined, added to each prompt for the entirety of the lifetime of the repo or something, like a human, right? Because the human have in mind, even if it's just a faint memory about, when he implemented this or that, or when he read this or that, and and when he does changes, the human remembers those faint memories, and the LLMs today don't. And that's the problem. So I hope this is I hope they will work on that. But I think they know that this is the problem. The main problem is just that memory and context and how to make it larger for all those tasks. And cross sessions, cross conversations too, right? Because it's not because you ask a new conversation that like the LLM don't need to have context over the code base. Like, oh, of course, it needs the same base knowledge and memories for each new conversation. But today, I guess the context windows are too small for that. Yeah. But at the same time, even if Gemini's models have a very big context window of 1 million token, they still don't use it in the correct way that they should to actually make better code base, implementations. So yeah, let's hope that these things increase in efficiency. DeepSeek. Cool. New DeepSeek model soon. In February, they said. Good news. Next topic. TSMC fourth quarter revenue jumps 20%. It's the wrong. It's the wrong link. I did that manually, that's why. TSMC jumps 20%, which means the DRAM and the RAM shortages are not going to the bubble is not bursting yet, right? the bubble is not bursting yet. I guess when the CSMC revenues go down, we will know that the bubble has popped, right? But right now, it's not popping. It's growing still. So I guess the RAM prices will still continue to go up, and the GPU prices will continue to go up too. Very nice. You know, that's so nice. 44%. Damn. Yeah. So not yet. Chinese seeker brand to enter more European markets. Hybrid models. Ah, yeah, it's one of those many. So I'm interested about this because basically, it's very probable that the European car industry will get smashed to the ground by all those Chinese car manufacturers, especially Germany. Like what's happening to Germany is crazy. Germany had like the biggest export how do you call that? An export surplus. Germany for the longest time, like for all the 2000s and the 2010s, had like the craziest export surpluses towards China in particular that the world has ever seen in the history of the of manufacturing. And now it turns out last year Germany export import is now in favor of China. Now China exports more manufacturing and industrial goods to Germany than Germany exports to China. For like the last 20 years, it's been the reverse of that. So now the trend is reversing. This is crazy because the entirety of the German economy is built on this assumption that Germany is going to export all of its industrial goods to the world, and especially to China. But now the trend has reversed, and so basically the economy of Germany is fucked. But the economy of all the other, you know, European markets are probably fucked too. France also exported some cars, to Germany. Well, France mostly exports luxury goods to China, which might not be as affected, but like for how long, yeah, Italy, Spain, Portugal, I guess, also exports lots of stuff, you know, to China. Well, not for long. It's crazy how quickly the shift has happened to like literally in 2015 we were still like the exports were still going crazy towards China. 10 years later, bam, over. It's over. And of course, the European consumers who love cheap price, will buy, and the European Commission who loves free trade is not going to do anything about the Chinese exports to the European market. So we're just going to watch as the European industrial base gets, destroyed once again by China. Because it already was smashed to the ground in the 80s and 90s when all the basic manufacturing of clothing and whatever was exported to China. Now we also have the high-end manufacturing that we kept, and especially in Germany, and in France and in other European countries, we kept the highest value, right? I remember there was some, analysts a few years or decades ago, like when I was still a student, I kept hearing, like some people basically saying stuff like, "Don't worry, the Chinese are going to make the sockets, right? The clothes, the cheap clothing, and we're going to make the Airbus. We're going to make the expensive luxury cars." Well, yeah, It's over now. Now they're doing everything. Too bad. Alors, CES stuff. Hey, talking about free trade agreement, did you see Mercosur, Nat? Talking about this. Did you see the Mercosur? The Mercosur is going to happen. Mercosur with the EU, you know? Mercosul, yeah, Mercosul in Brazil, you call that? Look, you know? Ah, you know, without France, yeah, France said no because of the agriculture, but it's still going to pass because we have a majority stuff uh, process. So yeah, so basically the EU Commission, the European Commission, has gave the green light to the free trade agreement with Mercosur. I don't know exactly what is that. Mercosul is the attends. Let me. Is Mercosul or Mercosur? I guess in Brazil it's Mercosul. It's the free trade zone that is between that is actually real, that is actually in place between Brazil, Argentina, Bolivia, Paraguay, Uruguay, you know? Mercosul. Portuguese, maybe? Mercado Comum do Sul. Does it tell you something? Does it? Voilà. Voilà. So now there will be, voilà. So now there will be an agreement. We have validated, the EU has validated that there will be a free trade agreement between the Mercado Común do Sul, Mercosul, and the European Union. So now, yeah, I know what it is, but I don't know the details. Okay. So basically now, Nat, I will be able to eat. So now all of the tariffs that were going to happen before this agreement, now there is not going to be any tariffs. So basically, I will be able to import export between the two markets, between the EU market and the Mercosur market, are going to be easier than before. And so basically what will happen is that you will be able to export lots of beef and crops and soy and whatever to the EU, to France, to whatever. And the Germans are going to be able, and the French, of course, are going to be, and the Portuguese and the Spanish are going to be able to export all of the industrial goods to Brazil and Argentina and whatever. So, we get your beef, you get Louis Vuitton and BMWs, basically, cars, The last time I heard about this was in high school. Okay. Nice, good. Yeah, so, it's a thing. One more time, you robbing us. No, we're not robbing you. I mean, to be fair, like France was actually among the countries that were opposed to the agreement with Mercosur. It was not enough, though. We were two little countries, especially since Italy was also blocking, but Italy switched, so now it passed. Because we need like 65% of the population represented by the head of states in the European Council. That's a very, administrative thing to validate the Mercosur. And so basically it was validated because Italy switched sides as often. But basically, France has been opposing this because our farmers are very poor because we impose too much taxes and too much regulations on them. And of course, making the cheaper, agricultural goods from Brazil, Argentina, coming into France will not ease the situation on the French farmers. But yeah, it's going to happen anyway. So, too bad, French farmers. It's still going to happen. So, bon. My take, I actually like the this kind of friend the agreement. I'm not personally opposed to this agreement. I think it's good, especially at the exact moment where Donald Trump is putting tariffs everywhere. you know, it's very good that we have this free trade agreement that will lower tariffs and even just make all the tariffs disappear, basically, between our two markets here. I think this is a good signal. Um, and yeah, it will also, it will allow you, the Brazilians, the Argentinians, to sell more goods to us, the Europeans, and it will also allow us, the Europeans, to sell more goods to you. But of course, some industries will maybe be affected, of course. Um, but at the same time, I think from the French perspective, we just put too much on the shoulders of our farmers. So now that the Mercosur has passed, it's our duty as a French and as Europeans to maybe lower the fucking burden that our farmers have. Because like the French farmers are probably have the lowest income among all the farmers of the EU, because the French parliament just love to put more and more regulations and burdens on top on top of each other, for the farmers to comply, and so the farmers can't make any money anymore. Even just compared to the Dutch or compared to the German farmers, like the French farmers are like, they can't live anymore. There's many French farmers that are committing suicide because of how little they earn. Like some French farmers earn less than the minimum wage. In France. That's how bad the French farmers are. They're literally earning less than the minimum wage. Because they're entrepreneurs, so they're not employed. So they're just, entrepreneurs not earning anything, because the French state and the French parliament love to put more and more and more constraints on the French farmers. So now I guess it's our job to just ease the regulations, ease the burden, to allow the French farmers, as well as just the entire European farmers, to compete more with your farmers, right? But like, unfortunately, I doubt it will happen because the Europeans are too stupid to do that. But maybe at least it will put a pressure to maybe, get rid of those annoying regulations that are just making people poor in the EU. Yeah, that's my take on it. Yeah, seems good. Yeah. I mean, yeah. Let's see. Let's see what happens. Bon, I guess at the beginning, some industries will get rocked by the changes, of course. But over the long term, like most things, things will stabilize. Okay, CES stuff now for real. Ah, we know already. Real CS stuff. Ah, nice. Couldn't find the page. Cool. Weirdest tech we saw at CS. Teeth music. Wow. The Lollipop Star is a device that plays music through your teeth. The company sells $9 lollipops that use bone conduction to play music into your inner ear while you get a sugar fix. Ah, yes, it's like the like the, how do they call that? It's like the, fuck, the ear, the ear pods, the ear thing. You put the things you put in your ear to hear music. That, but it's like with the bone conducting music or whatever. People use that to do sports while hearing music, I've heard. I guess it's this, but for the lollipop. Cool. I don't know how, but Brazil will stole the Brazilian people anyway. Look, you will stop the tax, but we will do a new tax inside Brazil. Then Brazilians are fucked. I don't know how, but they will do that. Well, if they do that, I think even if they do that, I mean, right now, maybe this trade agreement will change this, right? Uh, over the long term. The short term, I think the European market will just get flooded by very cheap, Brazilian beef and crops and soybeans and so it will be good for the consumers, but of course for all the the French farmers who try to sell this in the EU, it will be very bad. But at the same time, the French farmers are already heavily subsidized, so I guess they will continue being the zombie kind of entrepreneurs that they already are in a way. It's just that right now, basically, the EU is subsidizing, and France too, but at the EU level, it's happening. The EU is subsidizing the farmers to a big level just for the sake of still being able to feed itself in case of an international crisis or an international war. That's what's happening. Like we are still we are literally importing lots of food from the Maghreb, from Ukraine, from elsewhere, from Asia, whatever. We're importing lots of food from all around the world. Now we will import food from Brazil too, and Argentina. And so, of course, the French farmers and the German farmers or whatever, to an extent, cannot compete with the prices that we can have elsewhere, right? So we just give them free money to continue existing, even though it's not economically logical. It's not something that makes any sense economically speaking. It's just that, of course, strategically speaking, if at some point in the future we get a world war or something, and one of a sudden, I don't know, Donald Trump blocks the Atlantic, and now we cannot import all the beef from Brazil because Donald Trump is fucking up in the ass and he trying to invade Greenland, for example, and now all of his ships are like putting an embargo on the Atlantic trade or whatever. It means that we can't have access to food anymore. And so, then these European farmers that are heavily subsidized will be very useful, right? To not die of a food shortage, right? But yeah, in the meantime, it's just weird. We are just having lots of zombie industries in the EU that are just heavily subsidized, and just for the sake of maybe if there's a crisis they will be useful, but they're not actually economically viable. But so, well, we're just like, please don't die yet, even though it doesn't make sense economically speaking. Like, you are literally selling your beef or your milk or whatever at the price that is 3 times higher than the market rate, but please continue existing just in case. Such a weird yeah, that's what we're doing, so whatever. The feeling after brain sensing headphones that twist into speakers. Interesting. A vibrating chef's knife. Okay. Pandas companion bots. Ah, yeah, the famous. Now with AI powered panda. AI soulmate. Nat, this is for you. This is your AI girlfriend. Chinese company Lepro displayed its Ami device. Ami means friends in French, yeah. A desktop OLED screen that houses an AI soulmate to keep your company. And that is not sad. And that is not sad at all. The company pitched the Ami as a companion that would be empathetic and connect with its users on a deeper level. Giving an AI companion a physical form is an interesting choice. Very ugly, sad. Okay. The OLED smart purse. OLED smart purse. Wow. Ah, yeah. Now, interesting. Lenovo debuts two new rollable concept laptops, including one that grows wider. They're only prototypes, but they already look really sick. So this one is actually the most interesting one, right? This one is the one with the video with Linus, right? Tech tips, whatever. This one, now we're talking. Now we're talking. Now this is interesting. Now this is cool. This is cool. She doesn't look like my Lizzie. Well, maybe you can make her look into your Lizzie if you want. Never know. Aware. Neither prototype is guaranteed to hit shelves, sad. The arrival of the Lenovo rollable laptop 2 years after its conceptual debut gives me hope that we'll be able to buy them in a couple years. Considering the ThinkBook Plus Gen 6 retail for $3,500, I would start saving now. Oh, yeah. Ah, ouais, so they're not available at all. That would be cool. That would actually be cool. Bon, the vertical one, why not? But like the horizontal one, now that's cool. I guess it's useful for certain kinds of apps, but mostly bon. Okay, and next one. Capture video with the AI tracking subscription fee. Is this what I wanted to see, really? That's not what I wanted, actually. What did I want? That's not what I remember copy pasting at all the winners. That's really not what I wanted to check here. Sad. Attends. No, it was this. I guess I confused myself. Ah voilà, so solid battery state. Wait, I didn't do the solid battery state. Mais solid. I rushed the overlay stuff, so I just forgot about this. Solid battery. Ok. Ok. Voilà. The world's first bad host. Damn, you need to remember your topics, bro. Yes, I know. I know. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I think that actually instead of making the AI the agent search roaming around the internet. I'm just going to focus like on certain websites and just take the first like the headlines, because sometimes it's just weird about what they show me. Alors, world's first solid state battery. I think that's a big deal, right? It's like to have you know very long term or longer lasting batteries, or maybe like I remember something about battery powered planes or something, because right now battery powered planes for electric planes are not possible because the batteries weigh too much, so we cannot have electric planes yet because the current batteries are not good enough basically. And I've heard that the solid state batteries could solve that, or the new kind of tech that's coming could solve that. Let's read the article. CES is a land of bold announcements and of amazing innovative products and technologies that will revolutionize the world, often set for release in 2 years' time. 24 months seems to be about the right hype window, close enough to generate excitement and investment, but far enough that everyone forgets about your promises before that deadline quietly comes and goes. That's true. It was CES 2018 when Henrik Fischer made such a proclamation, saying that his team of gurus had cracked the code of solid state batteries. By 2020, he said, those batteries will be in mass production. The car was the e-motion, which never did come to market. By 2021, the company had given up on the solid state dream, and by 2024, the whole operation went bust. In Las Vegas at CES 2026, it's time for another bold proclamation about a small team of engineers that have figured out solid state. Is solid state battery the nuclear fusion of hardware? This time it's Marco Lettimacchi, co-founder of and CEO of Donut Lab, an EV technology startup that spun off from Verge Motorcycles. No relations to The Verge. Yeah. Naturally, I'm skeptical, but there's one key difference that's giving me hope. Lettimacchi says the Donut battery isn't 24 months away. It's in production right now. Really. Solid hype. If you've not been riding the hype wave around solid state, the promise is for a battery cell that is cheap, light, fast charging, cool running, energy dense, and combustion free. Damn. They're still conceptually the same battery design as the past couple hundred years. That means a anode is on one side and a cathode on the other, separated by an electrolyte across which charge carrying ions can scurry back and forth as the cell is charged and discharged. In the traditional lithium-ion cell, the electrolyte is a liquid of some sort. In a solid-state battery, it is, of course, a solid. That may sound like a small shift, but it has huge ramifications, the biggest being effective durability. Like solid-state electronics, there's nothing that wears or breaks down, like the SSDs, basically. Right? It would be like going from the hard disks with the head going around to the SSDs who are not moving. So I guess it's a bit more durable. Yeah, so which means a massive increase in durability, charging speed, and energy density. For its solid-state batteries, the Donut Lab is listing some incredible figures. To start with, there's an energy density of 400 watt-hour per kilo, which is about a third greater than that of a modern lithium-ion pack. A third greater. 30%. In other words, 30% more range in an EV with the same weight battery pack. Okay. Okay. I mean, that's good, but that doesn't seem revolutionary or whatever. Does it mean we can have electric planes? Maybe not, huh? Because like last time I checked, electric planes needed to have like a completely order of magnitude improvements to actually make it possible. So 30%, well, I don't remember though. Despite that boost, Letimaki says these cells are actually cheaper to manufacture. These batteries will appear first in the Verge TS Pro, and Letimaki told me that swapping to these hyper advanced new cells actually reduced costs. The bill of materials went down, and it is going down with every other vendor buying at the rate that we are selling them. But he's like really manufacturing them right now? The note says the batteries can take a full charge in as few as 5 minutes, which would finally mean an EV that charges as fast as you can fuel up a car. For the first application, it's a bit slower, 10 minutes in the Verge TS Pro. The company is also being a little conservative when it comes to the lifespan of the cells, where Donut Lab promises 100,000 charge cycles before the battery is worn out. Verge says 10,000. Mm. Bon, it's a new tech, so it's going to be, there's going to be improvements, I guess. Even that is a radical improvement over the roughly 1500 cycles that you might expect out of a typical lithium ion EV battery pack. Really? The lithium ion have so little cycles? I mean, yeah. I mean, yeah, the batteries that you have in a phone usually starts degrading after like 5 years, right? So if you use it every day, if you charge it every day, yeah, 4 or 5 years, it's getting close to 1,500, 1,500. Yeah. I remember from my previous phone, which I didn't do this mistake with my new phone right now, that I changed recently. But I remember with the phone that I had before, it was an iPhone 10 or something, or 7 or 8 or something. And I remember thinking, like, on the 4th year of having the phone, oh, it works nice, it's still going strong, it's still fast, it's the battery is still okay. I'm going to keep this longer. And then came the 1500 cycles limit, and just when I hit this limit around the 5th year, the battery started bulging and basically breaking down and started bulging, became a balloon. Just and like in 1 month, my iPhone quickly degraded into not being functional. Just when I hit this 5-year mark, which is, I guess, very close to this 1500 cycles mark too. So yeah, that sucks. 100,000 cycle though is a total game changer. I mean, even just 10,000 would be game changer, right? It means that maybe the battery of your phone can last for what, 50 years instead of 5 years. Damn, that would be nice. I mean, it would not be usable. I mean, we would not use a phone that old, but yeah, just for the sake of antiquity. The cycle life, the residual value of the battery, is actually 100% after the lifetime of the car. So it becomes the only component that keeps its value, and you can use it as a home battery or whatever. Ah, yeah. Interesting. There will be no real active cooling requirements at all. There are other implications. Those batteries are extremely thermally stable, offering near full capacity even down to minus 20 degrees Fahrenheit. This means it will also require less cooling. We do a little bit to manage the enclosure in which they are, but that's enclosure management rather than specific battery management. The cells are actively in production in Finland with initial production capacity of roughly 1 gigawatt hour. It says Donut Lab can quickly spin up new factories in the US if there is sufficient demand from American car manufacturers. That's stated by the battery chemistry totally free of any sort of complex or difficult material that might be subject to tricky import or export regulations or tariffs. Ah, so it's like less dangerous too? That might point to something like a sodium metal construction, but Letimaki wasn't willing to talk specifics. In fact, there are many details that we'll have to wait for clarity on, including how Donut Lab managed to solve the so-called dendrite issue. This challenge has stymied many solid-state startups. A battery flow that's a little like a microscopic stalagmite growing from anode to cathode across the solid-state electrolyte. When they bridge across, you get a catastrophic short and potentially a lot of smoke and fire. Ah, yeah, that's the problem. How did Donut Lab solve this issue? He credits having a small agile team. The party that has the capability and then iterates faster is the one that obviously makes the innovation. I've always said that 20 engineers beat 2,000 engineers. Well, yeah, depends at what. Sourcing innovation. But okay, he's not willing to tell the secrets, basically. Okay. Understandably, of course. He's even giving himself that 20-month window. He says all will be proven in just a matter of weeks. That alone gives me a reason for optimism, but at the very least, I won't have to wait long to be disappointed. Interesting. Okay, cool. Well, is that all the tech news for today? I guess yes. I guess yes. Tim Cook, fighting for the truth in Minneapolis. Okay. What does that have to do with tech news? But whatever. I must fix active to track the Blu-rays. Okay. Good. Good. Well, let's do like a quick hour of chill coding real quick. And then I will probably leave a bit earlier than usual. So I'm wondering if this robot is actually teleoperated. I think it's not, and that's why it's slow. That's my expectation. That's my impression. Speed isn't really the issue. Hmm. LG. I mean, LG, you know, like for some reason, the Asian companies, like the South Korean, Japanese, companies have had at least the tendency over the last like 20 years to show off in big conferences like that humanoid robots being cool and stuff, but they never actually put them to production, and I guess because it was just that, a demo, a prototype, it was not actually, like it's like there is a fetish in those Asian tech companies that don't do anything related to robotics at the base, right? Like LG does screens, and smart devices or whatever. They do TVs, Honda, remember, they were doing cars, but they came with Asimo, a humanoid robot. uh Hyundai has shown its own humanoid robot too, but these guys never put sold any of those robots in the past. I'm wondering why they're, like it seems to me that they're very different in their approach of showing off their cool tech, whatever, compared to the typical like American startups that want to sell those things, to you, even if they have to shove it down your throat, like it just seems like a prototype, concept car like tech flex more than. So is it really serious? I have my doubts. At least when I think about the past, most of those demos of humanoid robots by, you know, big industrial Asian companies, East Asian companies, panned out to not be serious. So yeah, probably the same here. Okay. What can I work on? I still haven't published my blog. I had too much to do yesterday and today. So, um, colon 3, colon 3, colon 3, colon 3, 50, what, yeah, yeah, at the, I'm still at the, oh, mhm. Are you good? Yeah, I'm good. And you, are you good? Yes. Nice. On my bike. Ah, you're still on your bike. How is the biking? Good. Nice. 40 kilometer per hour. Damn. 40 kilometer? That's a lot. Hey, did I finish to read this? I don't remember. In the heavy config. Wow. You're gonna burn those calories. Well, I think that this style is a bit too aggressive, It doesn't represent my full self as a nice person, So maybe I'm gonna stick with this one, with the polished version. And also, if I use this as a base for my video, I think I will end up just redoing the full length. So let's just stick with that. I just like the way that it's just way more like word efficient. It's way more, how do you call that again? It's fact of expressing yourself in a few words. Laconic. It's laconic. It's but short. How do you say that in French already? Even le. Je ne sais plus. I don't know. Ask GPT. How do you call the fact of expressing yourself in a few words? I'm not feeling less fat. Well, you'll have to continue doing that for the next few weeks and months, huh? Nat. And you need to check your weight every, well, maybe not every day, but every 2-3 days, I guess. You know? Weighing yourself on the balance, is actually, it's an objective measure, right? Even though, well, don't measure yourself too much, because sometimes, on the same day you can like take 500 grams, or like your weight is never the same always. You can like be at minus or plus or minus 500 grams in the same day. Like just whether you eat, whether you drink, whether you go to the toilet, lots of things will alter your weight. So don't take it too seriously. But every few days, to have an average, it's good. Is it worthy? I'm not feeling this. I stopped to eat. I stopped to drink cola. I spent a lot of days and I lost just 1 kilo. Well, it's because you need to like you won't lose weight in just 1 week, 1 or 2 weeks, Nat. Losing weight takes months, you like that's why most people, when they go to like the Christmas holidays and they eat like crazy for 2 weeks, they don't take weight, because usually just eating a lot for 2 weeks, that doesn't increase your weight. You need to eat a lot for like several months and several years to accumulate fat, or to lose fat too. No, this is not fair. This is maybe it's not fair, but it's how it works, that's all. That's how your body works. It takes time. It takes time to do everything. Hey, now you just need to continue your little biking and your little not eating cola for like a year, and you will see the difference. I can be, you will see. It's just that you do need to do that for a year. If you do that less than a year, maybe not. But after a year, oh yeah, for sure, you will lose a lot. How much difference? This is the point. Well, lots of difference, but it will just be very progressive. It will just be very progressive. It will be more progressive, because like right now your body is actually using all the fat that you have to compensate, right? But it's not eating everything. It's slowly, I will do this for 1 year to be thin or to be just a little different. Well, it depends. But let's just say that if if you do that for long enough, you will be thinner and a little different. I don't, because I don't know the difference with how you do, you know I don't know how much you eat and how much you stop to eat and how much you drink cola and how much you stop to cola. So I don't know. But uh what what is sure is that if you change your habits, you will have results. If you change your habits, you will have results. But the extent of these results depend on your body, on your, how you digest things, and it's different for everyone, like, so I can't tell you. I have 1.8 meters. Yeah, it's not a lot, I think, for 1.8 meters. 1400 calories. Yeah. I think if you keep eating only 1400 calories per day for the next year, you will become, thin, thinner, thin. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's just that everybody is different, right? So, for example, it's very well known that the people who are like Polynesian, like the people who live in Hawaii, live in Polynesia, in the Marshall Islands or whatever, their body stores a lot of fat from the get-go, like from the start. Even if they eat the smallest amount of food and they're just big, they store lots of fat. So if you have this kind of body, where you only eat rice and a few and water, and you are big, well, too bad, but that's how your body works. But for most people, it's not like that, of course. Some people are the reverse. So some people don't don't store any fat, right? So they eat whatever and they just stay thin, right? Bon, if one day there is a food shortage, they're going to be the first to die, of course. The same way the Polynesians were selected for this fat storage DNA, because when you go out at sea for months on small boats, the ones that survives the voyage, the trip, the travel, are the ones with the DNA that stored the much fat with the smallest amount of food. So that's why all these people on these islands are usually fat, fatter than the average on the continents, because they had to store the fat to survive. So it depends. It depends on the people. It depends on your genes, on your genetics. Some people store fat easier. Some people store fat harder. You just need to you just need to find the correct uh, diet that makes you thin. And there is a diet out there. There is an amount of food that will make you thin. Without starving you. You just need to find that. And it will be an exploration, but you'll have to find it. I mean, there's also, it might also be about, doing more sport, doing the bike more, stuff like that. Yeah. You will have to find, the recipe. There is no universal recipe for becoming thin, Each person is different. So yeah. And yeah, it's not fair. Unfortunately, it's not fair. Some people are thin naturally. Some people need to work hard to be thin. That's just how it is. Yeah. Maybe 2 hours bike per day. So yeah, maybe it's enough. 2 hours of bike per day to for you to be thin over the long term. Huh? Yeah. Hello Yannick, how are you? Speaking scientifically about where breakthrough happen decades from now, but does he care that people understand? Probably not. But I care. Mm. Yannick, have you seen that Trump has said he's going to invade Greenland? Are you ready to defend Greenland? Are you ready to be mobilized to defend Greenland? Hey, if Trump invades Greenland, I want Macron to drop a little nuke next, to somewhere in the Atlantic Ocean, just to make a statement. And this kind of thing is actually part of the national nuclear deterrence French strategy, like the official French military nuclear strategy actually involves like a last how does they call them again, uh like a last alert or something, like a warning shot. It basically involves France like detonating a nuke, in an empty area like an ocean or something close to the potential adversary, right? It would be so funny. It would be so funny. Yes, also, because, and you know what, I'm sure that Trump is not even aware that France has nukes. I'm sure, like I think on his first term, I think when he went to the G7, I remember like somebody, a journalist, or maybe a head of state or something, recalling that Trump like talked to Theresa May, who was about the Brexit stuff, and he said to Theresa May, "Oh, but you have nukes, Theresa?" And Theresa was like, "Well, yeah." Oh, I didn't know that. So I'm sure he's not even aware that France has nukes. That if he invades the EU, France might use the nukes. Like he's just so he's just so stupid. It's impressive. Dude. I mean, bon. It's probably just a bluff, right? It's probably the art of the deal, right? But it's such a stupid bluff, and it's just such a stupid like thing, you know? Like, I understand why Denmark and all the other European powers don't even want to acknowledge the threat because it's such a fucking stupid threat to make, you know? Like, what? The NATO? The biggest NATO, like the NATO creator, the NATO founding member, attacking a NATO ally while Russia is invading Ukraine? Oh, you know, like the historical books are going to be so funny to read. Huh? Wow. Bon, what do I do with these articles? I think I need to. Hmm. This one is very much is way more of a has more of a an AI smell into it, the way the phrases are written. It would be the funniest thing if World War III was actually started by stupid Mad King Trump attacking a NATO member. Like, dude. Like that's not even that would be like a meme war, you know? That would be literally world war meme, a world war meme. That would be so stupid. Like everyone involved in this would ask itself, what the fuck am I doing with myself? You know, you imagine, you know, we have 20 American nukes here. Yeah, exactly, right? Like, and you know, and that's why this thing is so like impossible to even think about. It's because if America starts doing this, then of course, you know, the Germans are going to seize and to fucking, I don't know, do something about these American bases or something, you know, that are on on the soil, or maybe, or are we just sacrificing Denmark? Are we just giving away Denmark sovereignty just to not, you know? But like, who is going to respect us if we allow the US to take a huge chunk of the kingdom of Denmark without any repercussions? Like, who is going to trust us? You know, like who is going to take us seriously? How is Russia going to be afraid of us? You know, like the US is like a virus everyone lets in their country, and now it's attacking us. Who could have thought? Yeah, true. I mean, true. It's just, and you know, I mean, the very annoying thing I think about what's happening here is that this entire fucking farce of a diplomatic move is just because of this one fucking guy, Donald Trump, that just happens to be slightly or maybe a lot stupider than people thought when they voted for him. And now he's doing all this crazy shit in the diplomatic arena where all the Americans, you know, like I'm sure all the American generals, the American officers, the soldiers on the German bases, on the Pitufik the American bases on Greenland, like I think everyone is just asking themselves, what the fuck is happening? You know, like what do you know, like and even like in the military circles, I think it's impossible to take this seriously because Like, imagine like the French generals or the German generals, you know, that literally maybe a few weeks ago had like a meeting or a discussion about NATO military exercises with like the US Supreme Commander from Europe, who is a friend, you know, who is their friend. And now he's this guy, Cavoli or something, is getting like information from the White House that, oh yeah, maybe we will attack Greenland actually and Denmark, and maybe we will just, you know, attack our allies here that we just had military exercises, you know, 2 weeks before, and I took you know, a beer with those you know, French, German, Danish, Norwegian generals or whatever. Maybe in a few months I'm going to fight them. You know, like, no wonder nobody believes this stuff, that this stuff is real. But unfortunately, and you know, like, this is just about the democracies usually don't attack each other, right? Like, democracies support each other. They you know, they like each other, they're allies, right? Unfortunately for us, Donald J. Trump is not a fucking democracy, and he's just this crazy guy that does crazy stuff. You know, like, there is a part of me that thinks that if this thing if the order is given, the American Supreme Commander from Europe will just uh resign, right? Like, he will say, no, my dude, I'm not going to attack our allies, you know, like, this is stupid, don't do that. But at the same time, even if all of the generals resign, I'm sure that there will, inside the army, there is some MAGA crazy heads that will just be replacing those guys to make the attack possible, you know. So at the same time, like, yeah, I mean, when the head of state is a fucking crazy person, you know, he can do with every role, every position, what he did with his own circle of advisors. You know, like, in his first term, Trump was surrounded by, you know, the Republican old advisors that mostly despised him because he's stupid, and they were not. And he noticed that, and so on this second term of today, he just fired all those guys and hired yes men who, you know, are just, oh, wonderful, Mr. President, you're very smart, this is the best policy ever. Tariffs that are destroying our own manufacturing supply chains, wonderful, sir. You know, and he's just surrounding himself with these kinds of guy. And I'm like, if he wants, he can do the same with on the military, with the military guys. uh you know, like, this is the crazy aspect of it, is that if, like, you know, there is nothing unconstitutional with the head of state of the US to declare war on its ally, even if it's just crazy talk, but it's like constitutionally possible, you know. But I'm just like, will the soldiers do that? But at the same time, if you start just hoping that the war doesn't start just because the soldiers don't want it, even though the military personnel is literally, you know, formed and educated into just following the fucking orders, that's their job, they don't, you know, they are not uh, you know, especially in the US, where like the power, you know, US power, military might is very important. I don't think there is any emphasis about, well, let's not reproduce the errors of Nazi Germany. If you have a fascist leader, don't follow its orders. You know, I don't think there is this kind of military education in the US military system, you know? I think it's more likely that they'll just like, yeah, you just do what you're told, you know? I mean, the US would be kind of fucked. The US already attacked Venezuela. If they open too many fronts, they'll be crushed like Germany in the Second World War because they can handle it. I mean, yeah, I don't think they will be crushed, but they can open too many fronts at once, even though the Venezuela is not really a front yet, at least. Um, but yeah, like, I mean, strategically speaking, when it comes to like China and Russia, Trump attacking Greenland, his own allies, would be the most perfect gift to to the international strategy of China and Russia, right? It would be the perfect moment for China and Russia to make a move, right? To like push forward, for China to attack Taiwan, for example, which they are getting ready to do, because that's the military exercise that they've been doing. Like that would be the biggest, like, bullet shot, shooting a gun at your own foot moment in the history of international relations. Like, you literally attack, and the worst thing about this is that it makes no fucking sense. Like, there is already NATO operating in Greenland. There is no Russia, like Russia or China is not going to invade Greenland, right? Like, there is no, he lies. When Trump says there's all these ships and Russian ships and Chinese ships all around, it's just false. It's just false. There is a Russian military, there is an American military base, that is a NATO base that has like radars and stuff, that is probably cooperating with some Norwegian bases and some Finnish bases, This is just stupid, this is just the stupidest thing you could think about. Like every time, it's really like what I said a few months ago is really real. Like every week of the year, it's like Trump tries to show me how much more dumber he is than I thought. It's just impressive how stupid he is. I guess they would also be at war with Canada, and yes, true, because Canada is still part of NATO. And Europe would pump their troops there. Maybe China or Russia would also intervene. I don't know. I don't think China or Russia would intervene, because it's too hard to it's too hard to intervene in this northern, like, it's already hard enough to project forces outside of your own national territory, but now you have to project forces outside of your own territory in an Arctic terrain, which is very specific. Like, also, the funny thing about this is that the US would actually be in a state of disadvantage compared to the European armies here, because the European armies are way more trained to fight a war in an Arctic environment compared to the US army, like, if the Norwegian army, the Finnish army, the Swedish army, and the Danish army just alone intervene in Greenland, they will probably have the advantage on the terrain, because their army is actually used to, make military operations in the Arctic environment. They have the Finland has a lot of the ice breaking boats. They have all these snow scooters or whatever. Like, you need that in your army to operate into the Arctic. Otherwise, you're just freezing to death. Like, and stuff like that. Like, the U.S. Army doesn't have the even just the equipment at scale to actually invade Greenland. Maybe they can bomb the shit out of Greenland, but of course, they're not going to be able to stay for very long. even without talking about the nukes, right? Just like the people on the ground. Plus, you have like 50,000 potential rebels on the territory that knows the landscape very well. Like that can do like Vietnam-like guerrilla strategies. Plus, you have Europe just next to you helping you. You know, even if the US is very powerful, it will be like Vietnam 2.0, but now helped with the first world nations supplying technology and troops. And come on. Russia has troop trains in very cool territories, and they don't have a long way to Alaska. It's like a good way to improve European relations. Yeah, if Russia would intervene in Alaska, at the same time Trump invaded Greenland. Now this is the true meme war. Now this is just it's like it would be the ultimate meme war. Like the ultimate failure for the US. Me. And at the same time, China takes Taiwan. Dude, wow. It would be the perfect time, right? Because literally Taiwan, like China is not invading Taiwan because there is this prospect that, both the US, with the help of its European allies, potentially, could help Taiwan defend itself. But if the US and Europe are busy fighting each other, now it's the perfect time to take Taiwan because nobody will help them. Also, Russia always wanted Alaska back. Maybe they can claim it that way. Yeah, exactly. That takes a precedent, right? Oh, you claim this this Nordic territory? I also claim it now. I mean, yeah, just just so weird. And like he's just a stupid man. And also, like every time he's like, I watched the like an interview, a press conference, that he gives often to the press in the White House, in the Oval Office, whatever. And when he was talking about NATO, he's like, "Oh yeah, NATO is great. I talked with the chief of NATO. He now all of the European countries are spending 5% of their GDP. We went from 2 to 5, and now it's all good. As if it's real. Like, of course, it's not. It's not applied anywhere. And I saw this journalist that went to the last G7 or something, and basically he said that in the G7 when Donald Trump comes, oh no, it was maybe the NATO reunion or something. When Donald Trump came, he said like all the head of states kept him, like, were very adamant about keeping Trump busy. Like you keep a baby busy. Like you bring toys and you're like, look, because he would be bored otherwise. And if he's bored, he's going to say weird shit. And so and basically he said like for the 2 to 5% stuff, he basically said that, like, even though of course all of the European Union head of states know that it's never going to happen in the short term, 2 to 5% of GDP is something that happens over like 10 years at least, right? But because they knew that Donald Trump would not understand this because his mind is too simple for these kinds of reflections, like, oh yeah, it needs to go through the parliament or whatever. He doesn't, he's too limited for that. Basically, they just had a reunion where they all told they all told him, Donald, It's going to happen. It's done. We went from 2 to 5%. You win. Congrats. We are all switching to 5% of military spending. Are you happy? And he was very happy. and and that's how the meeting ended, you know? And he was just happy. And then he went back to the US and he told all of his friends, yeah, so we did it, you know? It's done now. All the European countries, they all spent 5% now. That's how I did. I did good, huh? It's done now, you know? Like, this is just crazy, you know? Like, this is just crazy. This is just appalling for the state, you know, like for the state of the world and the biggest power on this world to have such an incompetent and like, oh, he's just a stupid person. He's just a stupid person at a level that I thought was just impossible, you know? But oh my god, it's very possible. It's very possible and it's here. It's crazy that the president of peace didn't stop a civil war, started one himself, is about to start a war. Yeah, right. And after that, he tells the world he wants the Nobel Peace Prize. My guy, you are threatening to invade the territory of one of your ally, and you ask the Nobel Peace Prize? Are you for real? But yeah, he's too stupid. He's limited, you know. He doesn't understand the consequences of, you know. Even like I saw an interview of John Bolton, and you know, his former advisor that he fired, and of course John Bolton is a you know, old head, old Republican Party, you know, advisor in international policy and stuff like that. And he said like, yeah, so you need to understand about Trump, when he says things, there is no filter between what he thinks at any second and his mouth. What he says is just the first thing that comes to his mind. There is no reasoning filter, there is no policy filter. He just says things as a, you know, as a child. Like he has no filter. And at the end of the interview, so you know, he says like all the weird stuff that Donald Trump is used to do all the time, and he says, and that's why I don't think Donald J. Trump is fit to be the president of the United States. Like he's not, you know, he's just not. He's just not. He's yeah. He's just a weirdo. He's a stupid person. He lacks all kinds of mental abilities that are unfortunately very crucial for any president to have. And it turns out he doesn't have them. It's crazy. But you know, like at least it really gives an example about what it feels like to have a truly stupid, you know, objectively stupid person in power. Voila. That's what happens, you know? If there is one lesson that it can give us, please do not let a stupid person access to power, because when you have that, you have Donald J. Trump doing the weirdest, craziest shit you've ever seen in your life, and just, you know, the stupidest shit that can happen at the US level, at the alliance level, at the world stage level. Like, it's just appalling. I think invading US soil will be very, very hard, though. All those rednecks would make perfect partisans. They all have weapons and are crazy committed to their country. Well, yeah, you're talking about Russia invading Alaska. Well, Alaska is not the same as the, you know, mainland US. Like the mainland US, yeah, the mainland US is impossible to attack. Like, you know, like just the geography of the mainland US with two big oceans, a big navy, the highest count of guns per capita in the world. Like, yeah, you're not invading the US, the mainland. Alaska, bon, I guess if Russia really wants to go at it, it could do some things, not much, but some things. Because Alaska is not very populated, also. It's mostly like an oil thing or something, I think. But yeah, I mean, look, I don't think Russia is going to attack the US anyway, right? It's just that I'm just worried about the China just attacking Taiwan uh, while he tries to do a move with us, because it would be too beautiful of a gift from heaven for China to to see the US attack the EU, an EU member. Hello to you, how are you? Grok put bikini in this stream. Yeah, unfortunately, Grok is not there. Yeah. I'm wondering, and like about Grok, I'm wondering how like Musk is going to actually respond, because this is an objectively, because he basically fired all the moderation people, but this is a thing where you do need moderation, so he'll have to hire people back to do the moderation. Because now it's not only the regulation, the EU regulations are annoying me or whatever. Now even the federal state is saying that they want to inquire into XAI, Grok stuff, because there's a lot of predators that are using this, you know. So yeah, it will have to treat the problem for once. And it's not, because now he's facing like the local governments, like the state of California and all other governments start the federal state of the US, and all kinds of countries around the world. Indonesia has blocked Grok AI, X.com. The EU will probably do, of course, the same. You know. That's right. You are saying that's right about what, Yannick? Taiwan. I never even thought about that, but it makes a lot of sense. Ah, yes. Yeah, I mean, like if I was China and the US was about to attack an EU member, oh my god, I would wait for that, I would wait for that. And as soon as stuff start being engaged, I just start the invasion, because now I have a 100% certainty that the Americans are going to be busy, and the Europeans, who might not have helped defending Taiwan anyway, but maybe they could have helped, you know funneling some weapons or funneling some money, right? Like we did with Ukraine, but at a lesser degree. Dude, if both the US and the EU are busy fighting each other, oh, that's the ideal moment to invade Taiwan, Yeah. I mean, and before, because when you think of it this way, it really looks like it really looks like a setup, right? Like something that you would set up to lure maybe the Chinese to attack Taiwan or something, you know? But unfortunately, that's not a setup. That's not something that's been prepared. Donald Trump is just tremendously stupid. And he has proven that, several times. And the moment where I really understood that, yeah, he's not doing that to lure his adversaries to make a wrong move or whatever. He's just plainly stupid. It's with the tariff thing, he like, I've never seen somebody with a clear ignorance of how much he's shooting his own country in the foot than Donald Trump doing his crazy tariff stuff. Oh, it's just plainly, like, this is what stupidity feels like. This is what true objective stupidity feels like and looks like. Voilà. This is just what it is. And so, yeah. And it would be a gift to China. It would be a gift. Literally a God-given gift. you know. Look. Ah. Huh? Buffer register. No. How do I get the register again? Uh, fuck. Uh, recover. Yeah. Enter number of swap file. What? What is this? Zero to quit. What is this? What do you think is more likely? 1. A civil war in the US. 2. Trump becoming a dictator. 3. Trump kicking the bucket before the next election could have been held. Hmm. I don't think that like I think that Kennedy was probably assassinated for less than what Trump is planning to do right now. you know so it wouldn't actually surprise me that for some reason before the end of his term, if he continues being that crazy, you know it wouldn't surprise me if Trump, oh, out of pure randomness, has a heart attack and dies, before the end of his term. Like, because I truly think, and like, it's probably, this is probably crystallizing. I think if the intelligence agencies, bosses, like if the, I think that if the boss of the CIA, if the boss of the NSA, if the high-ranking military people and intelligence people of the U.S. State, the deep state, as they call it, I think if there is a consensus towards the fact that Donald Trump is an actual threat to the interest of the US, especially with something like the invasion of Denmark, of Greenland, which is a new member, an ally, a NATO ally, something that would go totally contrary to everything that the US has tried to build over the last like 80 years of its history. Like, if the only uh threat to this, no, it's like, if the only thing that pushes the US to destroy its own, alliance is Donald Trump, I think at some point all of the, intelligence people who, by definition, act in a clandestine way, right, with a culture of secrecy. So it's never going to be publicized, or the same way the Kennedy assassination. Even if some intelligence military people were involved at the time, it's never going to be revealed because everything is secrecy. Everything is secret. Nothing was written down. No orders were sent. It's all secret and clandestine activities. Like, all the intelligence agencies around the world work this way, right? So it just turns out that if the one thing that they can all agree on is that Donald Trump is the main threat to the US interests, they might try to actually kill him, because it would be for the greater good of the US. It would be completely unconstitutional and completely undemocratic and whatever. But, they probably already did it with Kennedy. For less than that, I've heard rumors that say that basically Kennedy was assassinated because he wanted to make a deal with the Russians to dismantle all of the nukes, and because there was probably a naivety about after the 62 missile crisis around Cuba, basically because Khrushchev and Kennedy came very, very close to nuclear war. It seems that shortly after, Kennedy actually wanted to make a big, international conference where both him and Khrushchev would announce the entire dismantling of all of their nuclear nukes or something. Which it seems a lot of the generals that were, heavily against socialism and communism, and they were more rugged guys. They probably thought that Kennedy was a traitor, and that it was therefore legitimate to remove him from power through voilà, these kinds of clandestine activity that they usually do, just not on the US soil, and to intervene into other countries, like most of the intelligence agencies do. You know, I would not be surprised if Trump is the victim of a similar kind of you know, thing. So yeah, kicking the bucket. Like I think that at some point, if Trump crystallizes a consensus within its own administration that he, Trump, is a threat to the interest of the US, at some point, something will happen. Something could happen. Like, especially since it seems to me very likely that it has already happened with Kennedy. Uh, but of course, we are in a different era, right? Like today, if Kennedy came back, he would probably have not been assassinated. Uh, but like, I don't know. That's weird. Like Trump seems to be a fairly particular enough character to allow this scenario to play out, in my mind. I mean, Trump already started replacing government officials with MAGA people. Yeah, true. True. So, maybe he can, yeah. Trump is kind of a nationalist. I don't think anyone would think he's somehow against the USA. Yeah, but that's his problem. The problem of Trump is not his political alignment or whatever. The problem of Trump is his stupidity, and that's his stupidity that is a threat to the U.S. interests. That's the thing. Like the problem with him is not that he's a socialist, communist, or whatever. His problem is that he is profoundly dumb and stupid, and most of his political decisions in the diplomatic arena stems from funny memes that he have in his head, that he thinks that he can invade Greenland like it's not a member of NATO and the EU, and that it would somehow be cool or something. He's just the kind of stupid that can hurt the interest of its own country. you know and again, like this kind of operation, this kind of removing, nobody's ever going to like, it's going to be one of the many secrets that the CIA and the intelligence agencies of the US will keep secret forever, because nobody even inside its own administration is aware, if it ever happens, right? So yeah. But his profound stupidity is great propaganda of all his stupid citizens somehow feel connected to this. Yes, but like like, I think the elite people, because like, even though Donald Trump is indeed a product of the MAGA, yeah, the stupidity of the lower class of the US, right? Like, yeah, there's a bunch of people who are not very intelligent who voted for him because he's not very intelligent like them, you know? That's true. Uh, but I think that in the deep administration of the US, there's a lot of smart people, elite people, from elite families, who went to Harvard and whatever, who, got access to the highest echelons of the US state or whatever, and who are truly intelligent people. And I think that all of these intelligent people can easily recognize when someone is just plainly stupid, even if they are right wing, like Trump, right? Or more right leaning or something, Like, I think an intelligent person can recognize when somebody is stupid, and he is, he's stupid. So I think it, like, And I think these people in the deep state, they are not like, these high ranking generals or whatever. They are not MAGA fans, right? Like they're just doing their job. They're just trying to defend the interest of their country. They're trying to do what's good for the country. I think most, I don't think like the high ranking officials of the CIA, the Pentagon, the NSA or whatever is filled with MAGA fans, or with the MAGA flags or whatever, American flags on their pickup trucks. I don't think this is the vibe that is among the highest ranking officials in these administrations. And so, you know, the same way that the former Republican advisors that Trump had in his first term, the same way they heavily despised him for being so stupid. And that's why Trump fired them after in his second term. But, I think all of these people, the Republicans, the advisors that are despising Trump, I think it's mostly the same kinds of people that live inside the Pentagon, for example, or the intelligence agencies. And so I wouldn't be surprised if these people just, do something for the good of the country, especially since in these kinds of administrations, intelligence administrations, everything is secret. Like one like one manager doesn't know what the other manager of this other service that is next to itself work on. Like each person working on the NSA or on the CIA has no idea what his colleague is working on. Everything is, there is a culture of secret. So even if they organize such an operation, nobody would ever know about it. That's the crazy thing that I recently learned when I watched like this interview about a former intelligence person, French intelligence person, and he described, like how, yeah, even if I wanted, I couldn't tell you what we did at the DGSE. It's like the Foreign Intelligence Services of France. I couldn't tell you what were the missions or the operations while I was working there, because everything is secret. There is a culture of secrecy around what I was doing. I was not allowed to talk about what I was doing to my good friend, my colleague, and the colleagues the same, and the managers the same. Like no department inside this administration has any idea what this other department is working on. And also everything is clandestine, everything is illegal, everything, nobody knows anything about anything. So they could do it and nobody would know about it. And there is no, of course it would not be legal, right? Especially since the intelligence agencies usually are only allowed to operate clandestine activities, illegal activities outside of their national soil, right? Well, I guess maybe for Kennedy they made an exception or something. But but still, like the depth of the secrecy is so profound, so deep, so black that even if they do this, nobody would know. Except the big bosses that would organize this, basically. And like, to be fair, I think that if Trump orders to attack like Greenland, and there is no administrative way to shield him from taking the decision, because like, for example, that's what the former advisors of during his first term described. They described that basically to prevent him from actually uh to prevent him from actually taking wrong decisions on stuff because he was so stupid about everything he touched, they carefully managed to like basically shield him from all the bad stuff that he could do, and only bring to him the one thing that they knew he would validate, or he would do the good thing about. uh so maybe there's a way to do that for Greenland too. I don't know, but it depends on how how crazy the brain worm that he has about Greenland. He's lodged, he's deeply lodged into his brain. I don't know. Like he really just seems like a child. Like for there are several advisors that said that basically he changes ideas on every subject depending on the last person that he talked to. This is just crazy, like he's like on the same subject, depending on who was the last person to talk to him about this or that subject, he could change 360, 180 on every subject, depending on if the guy that told him, oh yeah, it's a good thing to do that, or the reverse was a good friend of him or whatever, he would just switch. He has no, like, he's just a, you know he's just a stupid person. He's just voilà, he's malleable. He's crazy. He's yeah. He's not a reason based person. He's not reasonable. He's not he does not follow logic. He follow impulses. He follow, yeah. Well, that's just not what political leaders are usually made of. Political leaders can be fucked up, can have their ego misplaced, whatever, in weird ways, but usually they have like a base level of intelligence. But with Trump, there is no this base level of intelligence that is usually expected from prominent leaders, is not there, unfortunately. So yeah. Well, right. Ah, fuck, how do I undo the undo? Oh. Where do you think we'd be with Kamala right now? Oh, we'd be way better. I mean, look, maybe Kamala would have had her own, woke minority stuff, brainworms, right? But it would not have been as detrimental to the international interests of the US as Donald Trump has done here. Like it would have been mostly like an internal political thing, internal to the US, but that would not have affect all the potential woke minority stuff that she could have the policies that she could have made because of that would have been the only bad or annoying thing, for I guess, that she could have done, in my view. but it would have only affected and very at a very small marginal uh, level. The internal politics of the US. And given that she's been like a prosecutor, she's always been seen, as like hard on crime or whatever. She wouldn't have defunded the police, because she's smart enough to understand that, yeah, defunding the police is stupid. Maybe she would have, helped maybe with the racist problems in some of the police in some states or whatever, and that would have been good, I guess. But yeah, on the international stage, she would have been like just better, She's a Democrat. Democrats, even though lately they had their little woke moments that I guess puts noise around their political offering. But at the base, the Democrat political offering is a solid, solid, typical American, you know, uh, political offering. I think, especially when it comes to the international stage, where it would have been a continuation of Biden, I think. So more stable. It would have been. Voilà. Yeah, Kamala would not have done all the crazy mistakes, the tariffs. Oh my god, yeah. I mean, it's very hard to not do better than Trump at this point, like especially on the international stage in diplomacy. Crazy stuff. And no RFK, yeah, no RFK, yeah, RFK. But I don't pay much attention to RFK. I just saw that he just said some false things about vaccines or whatever, as he often does. Uh, but yeah, they cause autism. Yeah, it's false, right? They don't cause autism. There is actually a guy I follow on Twitter that very clearly laid out the cause of the rise in autism in the US. It's like 100% because people are getting diagnosed. Yeah, people are like there is a problem in the diagnosis. There is no like it's 100 attributable to how we recognize autism and not about you know the people didn't change. Basically, the way we recognize autism has evolved, and so now we have higher levels of autism or ADHD or uh but yeah, medicines have not caused autism to go up. No. Why did you get vaccinated, Natsu? He was forced by Bill Gates. That's what happened, you know? Yeah. Oh, talking about vaccine, I think if there's one thing that Trump has achieved into the the right wing elites of the US is to truly vaccinate them against, you know, like populist, stupid leaders. But given if MAGA doesn't pursue itself on their own, but like for all of the the campaign funders, like the billionaires who have been funding Trump's campaign and whatever, like I hope most of those guys are fairly intelligent enough to recognize what happened here and how fucking stupid this guy is and how it's not in the interest of anyone to have another guy like Trump in power in the future, you know? Uh, and that's a vaccine. You know, like, because, you know, I think in the right, there was this ambience, this vibe that, yeah, maybe, you know, populism is okay. Maybe it won't lead, you know, to too bad things, because, you know, skilled people will still be in place in the administration, in the government, you know, even if the guy at the head, like Trump, is a bit crazy, he will be managed, right, or something. And to an extent, in his first term, he was managed, and that's why the first term of Trump was not that bad. But unfortunately, in the second term, he noticed that he was being managed, and so he decided to put the management aside. And now we get all the bad stuff, you know. So yeah, I think like all the right wing elites, the intellectual right, the right wing intellectual elites of the US right now has been vaccinated against stupid right wing people, populist people, for a while, huh? Because wow, I mean, you know, the same way the Democrats have probably been vaccinated by you know, taking two old people in power like Biden, who, you know, start to lose their mind at some point. But well, it's unfortunate, right? But yeah, both, yeah. But right now, the consequences of a Trump is way worse than the consequences of a Biden, on, you know, on the US, but also the NATO alliance as a whole, and, you know, the role this alliance plays in the world stage too. The consequences is appallingly bad. Anyway, but I think I'm going to keep this version. I save it. Hmm? Really? Ah. Wait a minute. We opened code for the win. Did you follow the? I should have talked about this too. Did you follow the drama with open code and Claude? Claude has uh, Claude has yeah, deactivated the authentication token that people have been using with the open code tool. So now you can't use your cloud code subscription with open code, which is pretty sad. Bon. It's just a walled garden move, you know? Attends, how? Ah, yeah. Why is the live server? Where you can buy, you can now, but yeah, they fixed it. They hacked it again, I guess. Yeah. How does it work here? How to make the live server from npm work on port 80 70 instead of 8018. Um, and then I will stop because I'm too tired. Oh, but it was working before. What's wrong? Ah, no, because okay, no, I remember now. I need to do npm run start. No, no, npm run npm start. No, npm run npm run. Ah, we know npm run build. Yeah. No, maybe not. Oh, I don't remember how to do it. I don't remember. I changed it last time. Okay. Dev. Why you nvim dev? Why not? You know? How you know it's the old one? So I forgot how to start the live server for frontend dev again. I forgot. Because I changed it for the deployment. Node dev server.js. npm run dev, bah yeah. npm run dev. I'm confused. The thing is, it was working before. Last time I checked, it was working, but now it's not working anymore. Oh, what's happening? Is it because I'm running the overlay at the same time? Oh. Oh, now it works. Ah, yes, no, it's because I didn't build. I didn't rebuild, actually. Okay, no, it's my fault. Yeah, okay. As often when there is a bug, it was my fault, not the code's fault. Well, I think I'm going to keep it like this and reread it, change it a little bit. And if it's okay, I'm going to publish that. And then I'm going to make a video about it. And then I'm going to I'm going to start making clips too. I started editing clips on Blender, but I have to learn Blender now. And it's a bit long and it's annoying. But I will do it. Okay? I will do it. But I will leave now because I'm just too tired. So I will wish you a good night and see you on Tuesday. Yes, now there's no holidays anymore, so I will, voila, continue streaming Tuesday. So the streams are now always the streams that are structured. So first section is always the tech news and then chill coding. Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. And you can even now watch my stream schedule inside my new hardcore stream schedule inside Twitch, because now I have put this should work. I think if you click, you should get to my schedule. Yes, with your own time zone, which is pretty cool. You know, I'm listening to myself now. Voilà. Voilà. And there will probably also be other streams, not on Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, 8 p.m. European Central European time. So it means maybe sometimes in Wednesday or Friday, sometimes maybe Monday too, depends. But it will be mostly gaming streams. So now the gaming streams are optional and unscheduled, unplanned, fully random, and luck based. Okay. Voilà. So the 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 mandatory streams are Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, 8 p.m. midnight, roughly speaking. But today is a special day, so I will, yeah, I have to go a bit earlier. Voila. And Wednesday, Friday, sometimes when I feel like it, to game. Voila. That's the new plan. That's the new schedule. And I will publish videos too very, very soon. Okay. Edited videos. Petit Pois on Petit Pois channel on YouTube. And my streams are being pushed raw from Twitch to YouTube on petit underscore pois underscore streams. And the clips also in petit underscore underscore clips. That will be soon. There's no clips yet, but soon there will be clips. I'm not sure if the first clips will be very entertaining, but I would try, you know? So yeah, that's the plan. See you on Monday. See you on Monday and look at my wonderful new emotes that I did trying to replicate the Sage emoji, but with AI, but I failed. So the output was this. Look how wonderful it is. See how wonderful it is? Voilà. It was Thursday. On Thursday, I tried with Nat to recreate the Sage emoji with with the petit pois, with the green pea, and it produced this. And actually, he thought it was funny. I thought it was funny, so he was like, "Okay, let's put that. Let's put that as an actual emoji." And so voila. That's that's the lore. It looks like a mix of Sage and the speed. My mom is kind of homeless clip. What is that? My mom is kind of homeless? Attends, let me check real quick. Oop. Let me check real quick. Speed, my mom is kind of homeless. What is this? I see. Yeah. 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 It's like, yeah, I confirm. I can confirm. Yes, it's true. Totally true. But I see you. See you. Have a good week. Oops, sorry. Have a good weekend. Bye bye. See you, see you, see you, see you, see you. See